What's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for tuning into Every Day is a Saturday with your host, me, myself, and I, Bryan Roof. Hey guys, another great day, another great interview. I'm really excited for this one. This dude is no stranger to the show. I've had him on already a couple times, and every time I have him on, he's a hit. Everybody loves to watch his show, love to hear about it because he's still serving our country, doing great things. And we're here to talk a little bit more about, he's from the last time that he was on, he was a staff sergeant. So he got promoted. Now he's a gunnery sergeant. So we're going to talk a little bit about his promotion. We're going to talk about, how life was from going from the drill field, going back into, the fleet. And kind of we're going to talk to him about what he's got going on and what his plans are afterwards. I know he's going to be doing the long haul and retire, but we're going to go ahead and bring in good old Gunnery Sergeant Cruz Jonas, the Mad Hatter. Let's go ahead. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, man? What's
What's
up?
up, man?
Hey, I was just watching the intro. I'm like, man, this is changing here. It's fancy.
Yeah, bro. Things have definitely changed, dude. Even from the first time that you were on, we were roughing it. I actually went back and watched one of our episodes, and we're sitting there bumping to no music at the intro where you and I can hear the music, but it never came across. I was like, oh gosh, man, things have definitely changed and gotten for the better, hopefully, since you've been on.
Hey,
But
it's continuous improvement. I love it.
absolutely, brother. That's always a goal of mine, man, especially last year when I first started doing podcasting, one of the biggest goals of mine was to try to make it better every day, no matter what, whether it was reaching out to guests, whether it was trying to make an improvement to the show, learning all these different things. So, it's all about learning and taking the time to do it, bro. But here we are.
Hey, that's what we do as Marines, man. We just keep on hooking and jabbing, and hey,
It
whatever
doesn't
it
stop,
takes.
dude, right? We just keep on rocking. And, that's one thing about being a Marine. You're always a Marine. I'm, shoot, what? Man, it's almost been, damn, almost 20 years since I got out.
Mm.
Oh, 2024. Damn. Yeah.
Oh,
2004 is when I got out. Good
woo,
Lord. Boom. Bro, time flies. But
man.
I'm still a Marine, man. You could ask my wife, you could ask my kids. You can't get the Marine out of me no matter what.
Oh,
But bro,
it's
you're sitting
funny.
here living it day in, day out, man. How many years are we at right now?
Uh, Coming February will be 13, so we're gonna be. I know some of you are going like,
February.
what?
February what?
Yeah, yeah,
February what?
2011, February 14th. So Valentine's Day will hit
That's
my 13-year
crazy, bro,
mark.
because I'm February 22nd was my day when
You
I
know,
actually
it's
joined.
funny that you mentioned that you can't get the brain out of you. I saw this meme on LinkedIn, and it said like, "Hey, this is what transition looks like. The difference between transition between the different branches. Like the Air Force, once you get out, it takes like maybe like 2 or 3 hours, and then you're back to being a civilian, right? The
Right.
Navy, it takes like a couple, like 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 months, and then you're like back full blown civilian, right? Um, the Army, it takes 6 to 7 years, and then you're like, all right, I'm a civilian. For the Marine, after you graduate boot camp, like your life has changed forever. There's no going back at that point.
If
Call
nothing
to
else,
call.
bro, if nothing else, we get worse as time goes on and we get out. Look at me, bro. I'm like totally, I mean, that's just a little display here and there. I got Marine stuff everywhere. I think it just gets worse as time goes on, as a
I,
matter of fact.
it's
So
Yeah, and people say like, oh, that's that's your identity. Like it's not an identity. All right, there's many dimensions of us. However, that's the most prominent one that you're going to see out of all the dimensions of us. Like
and
you have
if
me as a
you're
father.
I'm proud of my identity. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I worked hard to become a Marine, and when I was a Marine, worked hard. And I do gotta say though, it's like when you're in, you kind of want to get out, and then when you get out, you're kind of like, "Ah, damn, the whole grass isn't greener on the other side, bro. Like kind of is a
Yep.
thing, because you know, once you kind of get into the civilian world, there's a shit ton of responsibilities that you don't necessarily have in the Marine Corps, because the Marine Corps kind of takes some of those responsibilities off of you. Um, but man, you know, I gotta say though, you do miss the people hanging out with everybody, the camaraderie. I think that's kind of one of the biggest things, because
Yes.
a lot of us, when we meet each other, we're from all different walks of life, different states. And then when we get out, man, a lot of us, we go right back to where we came from. And it's out of touch, you know. So that kind of
It's
part sucks.
and talk about transition, right? Because we talked about at the beginning, like transitioning, being like from a hat going back to the fleet, and then just seeing how different. I don't want to say different the fleet is. I don't want to say the fleet ever changes. I think what changes is our perception or how we view the institution when we come back to the fleet, and how we pretty much get spit back out to it. Um, it's it's very different, very very different.
Yeah,
Um,
bro. So talk about that, because I mean, you're in the drill field for what, 3 years or so, or
yes.
yeah,
So you're in the drill field for 3 years. If you're lucky like me, you might catch a break with having quota. I know for myself, it was a little bit more different, the transition, because that last cycle, I didn't have time to do another cycle. So it was like, hey, either you wear a black belt or you take the time off. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go for the time off. So there I am, 3 months sitting in my house, like not doing nothing. So I'm just like purging all the depoisms out of my body, uh, getting ready to go back into the fleet. Um, and I will say it's a little bit different. Going back, people look at you very weirdly. And you have different views, right? Or I guess different expectations from the people, right? So you have like the higher ups, right? They see you like this ominous, dominant, freaking savior that are gonna come and fix absolutely everything for them. They're like, oh, you just came from the drill field. Oh man, well you're gonna have like all this time off. We gotta get you back into enroll and get you spooled up, and we're gonna give you all these responsibilities. And I'm like, I mean, I get it, but
right.
like I
Overwhelmed
am
a little
like
bit.
I'm like 30 minutes from checking in, and you guys are like telling me like, hey, I want you to do this, and that. I'm like, pull your horses. Hi, my name is GySgt Cruz, right? um, so you have that. Then you have your peer group, right? And it's a little bit different, right? Because they look at you like, oh, I was a recruiter. You're a drill instructor. Oh, I had the harder SDA because I was a recruiter. You had to only follow trade schedule. I had to. I'm like, all right, dude, I get it, but I'm not doing the whole pissing contest and whatever. You probably lied to your kids. They're like, we don't lie anymore. We got the Genesis system, blah 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 blah, and they get like super mad about it. I'm like, all right, dude, it ain't really that deep, whatever. And then you got the youngins, right? The junior Marines, and they look at you and they put like this 30-foot wall between you and them, and they're like kind of like looking at you, and they're going to see like what's the first words that come out of your mouth, right? They want to see if you're going to respond to them like, hey, I know it's freaking good morning, staff sergeant, or some shit, or you're going to be like, hey, what's up, dudes? Hey, my name's Staff Sergeant Cruz. Nice to meet you all, right? They're just
Right.
waiting for that. And from there, that they're going to gouge. What I found very different, going back to the fleet, was um, I guess how comfortable they get, right? Because when I was growing up in the fleet, uh, it was all about following the chain of command, right? Hey, you don't go talk to the sergeant unless you talk to the corporal first. Like everyone is in the same page, right? Like everyone knows before you go talk to the staff sergeant to the gunny, right? I have like these PFCs just straight up coming up to me like, "Hey, I have a question about this." I'm like, "Does anyone else know about this?" No. Did you talk to your sergeants about this? No. I might want to give them a courtesy to let them know, right? So I think that for me was super weird how uh, kind of relaxed it was. That and majorly like a lot of the attitudes of the sergeants too as well. So kind of give a context of where I was going to. Before I left the depot, I hit up the monitor. I'm like, hey man, I'm getting off the drill field. I want to get orders to the East Coast because my wife does not want. I didn't obviously didn't tell him like I don't want. I want to go to the East Coast because my wife said it. Like, hey, just send me to the East Coast next deploying unit. Just send me there. He's like, I got you, fam. I got you. Hey, if it's a dirt that even better. He's like, don't worry, I got the perfect spot for you. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, get some relaxed time. You know, maybe go hit Kuwait or Spain, something like that. No, bro, you're going to the mute. I'm like, fuck. um, so, anyways, we get there. There's another staff sergeant that he's the division chief. He brings me in. He gives me the whole entire. He reads me down to the whole entire roster of all the guys. Like, all right, man. So we got this kid, and hey, this dude's pending like a sexual assault case right now, so he's done. This dude, well, his brother shot himself, so he's done. And he just went through a list, and I was like, hold on. So you're telling me of all your guys, everybody has something? He's like, yeah, pretty much. I'm like,
Bro, you
all
went
right.
into a house of problems, man.
So I was like, all right, cool, like whatever, right? He's like, all right, I'm going to put you in charge of this section right here, which is called Charlie Corrosion Control. You know, because there was like three staff sergeants that were all checking it all at the same time. He's like, hey, so that way you can get your feet wet back again, get your qualifications. You know, obviously air wing, um, and from there you roll, right? And I'm thinking here in my head, like, hold on. 12 Charlie means that all the misfits that there is in the squadron, they go over there. So I'm like, so tell me a little bit more of the guys that I have. He's like, all right, well, you're going to have a sergeant, two corporals, and, you know, a couple lances. I'm like, all right, you know, I can deal with that, right? So I go, this is like first week going in there, right? I go in there and I send like what's going to be my next test, right? And I'm like looking around and I open up the drawers, you know, because this is my space. So I'm like, all right, open up this drawer. I open up this tub, right? And I'm looking at this tub. And I'm like, it's kind of like sticky, right? I'm like, oh, whatever, you know, disgusting. And I flip it and it says anal lube. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, fucking Marines, dude.
I'm like, what the hell is this? And then my sergeant
Oh
goes
man.
like, oh, my bad, bro. You know, because again, it's this whole different change, right? And he's like, oh, my bad, bro. It's mine, you know. I'm like, why do you have it here? Like, he's like, well, you know, sometimes at night, you know, like when we're on night crew, you know, you get bored, you got some time down. So, you know, I'm like, I don't
No.
understand what I don't understand what you're saying. Like, oh, you know, I use this for myself. I'm like, like, what? He's like, yeah, you know. I'm like, and I'm
Oh,
like,
dude.
I like look at him, and I'm like, all right, dude, whatever floats your boat. Oh, it ain't like that. It's just, you know, I just like stuff up there. I'm like,
Man, Marines, bro. Holy shit, dude.
ain't there like some sort of barrier or something? Like, no. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
Man, that dude had no shame.
There's no
No,
shame, dude.
no
So
shame. What rank was he? Oh,
that
sergeant,
was my
right?
sergeant.
Your
That was my
sergeant.
sergeant.
The sergeant. Gosh damn, bro. I think it made PSC. That's cool. I just forgot you did say sergeant.
I was like, all right, man. So I'm like, all
Damn.
right, cool, whatever, right? Then the following week, I come in early in the morning. I noticed one of the cranials was like in the paint shaker, all taped up. And I'm like, and here in the back of my head, like I already know what a taped up cranial is. Like someone left their cranial somewhere and they taped it up. And I'm like, look at it. I'm like, whose cranial is that? And they're like, oh, it's the sergeant's. Like, and who did that? And he's like, oh, well, Lance Corporal so and so and Lance Corporal so and so. And that's where I got heated, bro. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to have the drill instructor in me is going to come out. So I tell the sergeant, like, I pull him outside. I'm like, dog, like, really? Like, Marines are playing pranks on you and making your cranium balling up and messing with your stuff? Like, is that what's happening here? Is like, oh yeah, we just do it like to one another. I'm like, yo, bro, no. That's not gonna fly here, dude. Like, there has to be like a
Wow.
division
Yeah, not NCO,
between,
not the NCO to non-NCO stuff, bro. Like, that's
bro.
fine. You just gotta relax with that part. There's
I
no
was like,
respect because when it comes down to time when you need some shit, you know what I mean? They
so
have no respect for you at this level. You gotta have that level of respect. I mean, there's time and place to play, but dude, when them fools are just sitting there, it's all good, you know.
it's all good and everything else. But again, it comes to a piece of context, right? And I'm gonna explain a little bit more about it. So now I'm seeing like all this stuff and I'm trying to soak it all in, right? Going back to the fleet, the whole like the back before I left, everyone at least would give you like the proper green, like good morning, or at least like good morning, or like what's up, dude?
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
at least like a raw, at least. But like you would have like PFCs just mean mug you, just walk around you. I'm like, do I owe you
Mm.
money, dude? And they're like, what? I'm like, what's up, man? Are you good? You good? He's like, yeah, I'm good. Like, you look like very upset. He's like, no, I'm good. This is my normal face. I'm like, all right, cool, man. Like, good morning. He's like, okay. And we'll just walk away, like, okay, come here, dude. He was like, I
Mm.
just said good morning to you. Like,
Proper
oh,
proper greeting,
oh,
bro.
my bad. Good morning, staff. Sorry. I'm like, you don't have to be like all proper, dude. Like, just normal
Custom and
stuff,
courtesies went away though.
dude. So, and I was pretty chillaxed. I was just observed, right? The whole OODA loop and just
Yeah,
observed,
yeah.
except for my shop, right? Like, my guys, like, they already knew that I came from the depot. So, there's a lot of stuff that I started like noticing from the get go. I'm like, hey, dude, like, I saw like one of like the Lance Corporals snap at one of the corporals and one of the sergeants. I lost my shit. I'm like, hey, come here. Like, did you just yell at your corporal and your sergeant is like, well, I told them that I felt uncomfortable about doing this. And I'm like, and I lost it on this person. And I'm like, look, I don't fucking care that you're a fucking female. You have a fucking job. All right. They're not telling you anything fucking different. We're about to go on the fucking mute. You're on a flat fucking surface and you're fucking freaking out. It'll be the fucking last time I ever hear you raising your freaking voice beyond freaking 57 decibels to a fucking NCO. Do I make myself clear? And and she was like bawling out, like, "Oh, I just feel like you guys, you guys remind me of my dad." And I'm like,
Oh my
"Is that a good
gosh.
thing or a bad thing?" I'm like, "My dad abused me." I'm like, "All right, I'm not dealing with this shit, dude.
Oh boy.
I'm not dealing with this shit."
Holy
Um,
shit.
so I started to understand the concept and the grasp of a lot of the fears of the NCOs trying to utilize their powers as an NCO and then getting backfire, getting pushback from the junior Marines. One given like, hey, they're being more educated, they're pushing back on, what was before like the culture of hazing and everything else. Like it, there's zero tolerance for it now, right? But now it gets to a point like it's like it blurs the line. So now I'm kind of like trying to understand and see like what's going on, right? So now like the NCOs are seeing like how I'm reacting and seeing like there's no pushback anymore from the Marines. They're like, huh. So then the NCOs will. So can we? They started like coming up to you like, so can we like, yeah, you can talk to them. You could talk to them. I don't want to say abrasive, but you can be stern with them and not degrade them.
Hmm.
You can like you can still be strict and not like you can still gain their respect, dude. And what I spent doing the good majority of the time was gain the respect of the guys. And one of the best compliments I ever got being back in the fleet was guys come up to me like, hold on, you were a drill instructor? I'm like, yeah. They never knew. If I don't tell them, they're not gonna know. Why? Because I wanted that my merits, my actions, and they saw me. I would carry toolboxes out there. I would work on the aircraft, and I took care of them, right? And that spoke a lot more than like, oh, he just was a saucer head. It's come over here, yada yada yada, right? And going back to my sergeant, Uh, and why he was like that, when I started peeling the onion back, and now because of what I learned in the drill field, right? Because they ask like, what do you learn from the drill field that you can bring back to the fleet? I can be like, I can now understand the thought process behind why people act the way how they do, right? So for my sergeant, in his case, he was a meritorious corporal. He wasn't a turd. He was a meritorious corporal, and at some certain point, that he was the top notch in his game. He got NJP'd because again he used his powers as an NCO. Someone disrespected him, and he took it to that next level. Right?
Ah,
That like, okay, you're not going to disrespect me, and then he got the hammer put down. But the issue was that the hammer kept on getting put down on him, and kept on putting down. So what does a Marine have to do now at that point? At that point, he says like, and I still remember him crying, like he's balled up in tears. He was going through issues with his family, right? Uh, Stuff with his only kid. His only kid's about to leave to go to Japan, right? So he's not going to be able to see the kid anymore. He wasn't getting the support from the command. So at that point, what does it matter? Like, what does it matter me to follow all rules, regulations, do this and do that? That when I'm asking help, you all turn your backs on me, don't do anything, and then when I have this situation and all this other stuff is festered in this one exact certain point and blows up, you all drop the hammer on me. So why should I fucking care? So
it's a
that now
double-edged sword there. Yeah.
yeah. So now that I received that Marine, right? And now I'm kind of like peeling the onion back, understanding what's the thought process, right? Because everyone, he kept on telling me like, no, I have a full locker full of red jackets and everything else, of all the awards I got, LOIs and everything else. I'm like, so you tell me all this, but where's it at? Because I don't see it. But when I pull the onion back, I see it all. I'm like, damn, man,
Sometimes with that meritorious promotion though, bro, like the maturity level isn't they're not ready for that responsibility, that billet that they're growing into. You know what I mean? Sometimes, and if they've been surrounded by bad NCOs and were kind of brought up by bad NCOs, they're already going into where they're a little power hungry. When they get that meritorious shit, now they're sitting there in charge of guys they used to be Lance Coolies with, or PF, and they grew up in the same unit. So it is that meritorious promotion is tricky. And if they're not,
yes,
if they're not kind of educated right and put into like the NCO courses and all that stuff right up rip front, man, they're gonna have this time of where they're just gonna be out there spouting away, fucking taking their control too far. And that's
yes,
sometimes what happens with NCOs, and that's when the NCOs lose their respect is they take their authority and go too far. Like sit there hovering over a piece of trash. Hey, PFC, come here and pick this up. Like, hey, bro, you're degrading the guy now. You know what I mean? Like, there's a better way of handling that. Don't go stand over the trash and make him pick it up as you stand over it. I mean, come on. That's that
and
kind of stuff you lose respect, you know.
and it was kind of tricky, right? Because from the outside, right, they would see me talking to I was hard on my sergeant. Out of everyone, I was super hard on him, like
Yeah.
super. I'd just be grinding. Why? Because I knew if everyone that told me like he used to be good, I wanted that good bring back. So I was just on him constantly. I wasn't on the Lance Corporals. I didn't need to be on the Lance Corporals, right? Uh, I needed to be hard on him. Um, And at the point, like there was other sergeants that would come up to me. They're like, "Hey, Staff, can I talk to you? Hey, I see this. I feel like it," because they didn't see the big picture, right? They would see like the small little instances, right? The stuff that usually Marines talk about, like, "Oh, well, this is toxic," or blah blah blah, leadership toxic. I saw this, I saw that. Like, no, you don't take the full context, and when you don't take the full context, like, hey, he's getting blasted because he was told this, this, and this is what affected this, and now I'm dealing with this bigger picture of this because he failed to do X, Y, and Z, and now we're dealing with A, B, C of the next chapter, uh, because of cause of X, Y, and Z. Which, if he would have done this, then obviously all this other mess wouldn't have happened. Um, so there was a lot of that. There was a lot of the junior guys. Um, I don't know. It was just a lot of junior guys. I'm not sure if it's because of the fourth phase model. I'm not sure if it's because of, and I don't want to say it's the fourth phase model. I do want to say, like, at some point during their pipeline, COVID, that whole entire pipeline until they get to the fleet, there's something lost there, right? I see a lot from the guys coming from the schoolhouse. Like, I get one or two, or they're like extremely timid, or they're extremely confident, and just, you're just too blatantly like disrespectful, right? And I will be honest, I prefer having like the blatantly disrespectful one than the very timid one. It's a lot easier to mold the blatant disrespectful one than molding the very timid one. I don't know why. I just find it's a lot easier to groom because, like, okay, these are your motivations, and this is how I'm going to get you to do what I need you to do. And actually, they become really high, well, good freaking performers. The timid ones, it's like, dude, I'm pulling teeth with you, dude. So, um, it was definitely a transition, not too hard, but going straight to what I was used to like, okay, this is a whole different spectrum of. I'm not sure if it's an East Coast thing, like, hey, there's not much to do, so we're all just going to get in trouble. A lot of baby mama issues, a lot of baby mama issues. Um, it was just very different.
So now going in, you when you went back into the fleet, you were a staff sergeant.
Mhm.
Since then, you now have picked up gunnery sergeant. Now, let's go ahead. We're going to kind of show everybody a little bit of some pictures from that. We'll see how good we can get it to look. Let me see if I can
Yep,
get it.
that
We'll go
was
ahead and let's see if I can turn off the volume so that way we don't get hit on no. I don't know if we're going to get hit on. It's all good. We'll just put it on and see what did they say. Do you hear the sound
so
on it
that
now or no?
nope,
No?
no sound. So
Okay,
yep,
perfect.
that
So yeah,
was
talk about
a
this, man.
so that was I'm going to be honest. Uh, I did not expect to be selected. To be honest, I was not even expecting to get looked at this year. So 2023, and some of the people that are very close to me, like Gunnar Sergeant Vanscois, Nick, they know like 2023 was a little bit rough. One, dealing with coming back from deployment. Everybody knows coming back from deployment, there's a lot of people that are about to PCS or EAS. And so we're having those two factors in addition. Like, how whenever you come back from deployment, you are the bottom of the totem pole for the monitor. So they're not going to send you experienced guys. So now you're losing a whole bunch of guys that you just went with the deployment with, that you've gained this relationship with them. So, there's a point of loss or grievance, right? Yeah, they left the Marine Corps. It's not like they died, but you still grieve them regardless, because it's not like going back to like, oh, my boys, right? That was like, there's one less person there. I know that we don't talk about that, or we try not to accept it. We're like, whatever, right? So you have that. We're going through what's called inspection season, which we have major inspections going through. Um, and you don't have people fill up the gaps of the people that are leaving. So it's becoming more stressful as uh, there's stuff going within the Osprey community that not going to talk about them. Uh, but are impacting how we do our day-to-day stuff, which is um, creates more pressure to our personal life, if that makes family life and whatnot. So having prepping for inspections, being a program manager, prepping for all that, having deal with Marines leaving. Hey, by the way, we want you to run a Lance Corporal seminar. Hey, by the way, we want you to run a corporal's course. I'm like, hey, I need to prepare for these inspections that are coming up because I don't want to get fired because I didn't take care of this. Like, well, we also need you to do this because you have the experience to do it. I'm like, hey, you were a drill instructor, you got it. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm doing that. Plus, I'm working on my master's degree too. So I got classes to deal with too. Oh, by the way, we got these retirement ceremonies going through, so we need you to help out with this. So uh, there's so many things all happening at once, and you're just overwhelmed. And it's like, oh, by the way, the message just came out. Hey, guess what? Uh, you're getting looked at this year. I'm thinking to myself, like, hey, usually in my MOS, people don't get selected or they don't get looked at until they hit their 15, 16-year mark. So over here, I'm like looking at myself like, I've only been a staff sergeant for like 4 years and I'm getting looked at this year. Like, I'm like super shocked, right? So I'm over here like looking at my stuff, making sure I'm good. I still have a picture of when I was a sergeant. They're like, hey, you need to update that picture. I'm like, it's not required. Like, oh, I would do that. So I'm like, I'm not going to like go willy nilly in it and stress out about it because I'm probably going to get passed over this year anyways because it's like what I've seen usually like around me. And a lot of the people that grew up left the Marine Corps 20 years as a staff sergeant. So here I'm like thinking to myself like, I don't think I'm going to look or I'm going to get passed over this year, right? That's why I thought to myself. And I still remember it was, I want to say it was July or June. It was June. Everybody's like looking at the messages and still wouldn't come out, still didn't come out. And then I received a phone call and I was like balls deep working on my program. I received a phone call from my old sergeant major and he's like, hey man, congrats. I'm like, what do you mean congrats? Congrats on what? He's like, hey, congrats, you got selected. I'm like, you're fucking with me. He's like, yeah. And I'm like going over here on Marine.Field and looking, and I'm like, there's no message here. He's like, no, man, I got the list. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, dude. I'm like, dude, I thought I was about to pass. I was like, oh, this can't be, this can't be. So I go running right to the next office where my master guns is. I look at the master guns like, yo, he's like, hey, I just saw the message right now. Congrats. So we hug each other and I'm like super excited and like I'm like shaking. I can't like I don't know what to do, right? And then so I go run up to one of my boys. He's like, hey man, did Sergeant Major call you? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, uh, hey, just call Sergeant Major, see if you got selected. So he calls our old Sergeant Major and he's like, yeah, your name's not on the list. So he's like, he like hangs up the phone. He's like, oh fuck this shit, blah, blah, blah. He's like super pissed off. I'm like, all right, I probably should not tell no one about the news. All right. But at that point, like everyone now is like receiving phone calls from their sergeant majors, everything else before the official message hits. So I'm over here like still thinking to my head, like I still cannot process this, right? I'm still trying to like process it, like how did this happen? Like I got selected on the first look. I guess being going on the drill field did freaking have its dividends, right? And seeing a lot of it was only two of us in our unit that got selected, and there was at least like I want to say like 9 or 10 staff NCOs or 9 or 10 staff sergeants that were going to get looked at, and only two of us got selected. I was like, it was a giant relief. And then as soon as the message came out, I started looking up and down the list and seeing like all the boys that we went on the drill field together. We all got selected. I was like, that's awesome. So we were just like calling each other. I called my old first sergeant from back from the depot. He was like super happy. And then my current sergeant major that I had, he calls me like at 10 p.m. Sends a text message like, "Hey, I just want to send a message out. Congrats." I'm like, "Man, we know about this like 14 hours ago." He sent us a message right now. Um, it was crazy seeing the reaction too from the junior Marines because they're like, hell yeah, like this is awesome because you've been working your butt off and everything else. So it was a really good feeling. Um, I will say for my promotion though, I was a little bit sour um, because at the time I was doing a transition from being the Air France Division Chief to going to quality assurance. And for my promotion, the guys that didn't show up were my own junior Marines. Like none of them showed up
Mm,
because the
yeah.
current division chief was like, "Well, we need to work on this aircraft, the mission, blah blah." So none of them could make it. Uh, but I already knew from my junior Marines, or what used to be my junior Marines, like the guys that wound up playing with me, they were a little bit sour too that they were not afforded the opportunity to go to the promotion. So I already knew in their hearts and minds they wanted to go. So uh, it was kind of like bittersweet, but there was like other shops that went entirely over there, and I was like, all right, dude, that's like mad respect that the whole entire shop that they're not like underneath me, but they still went and they volunteered to go. Like they were like, yeah, we want to go to GySgt Cruz's promotion. So it was pretty dope. It was pretty dope seeing a lot of friends also show up outside the unit. My old sergeant major showed up. Sergeant Major Pearson, that she was the old sergeant major for 204. She also showed up. A couple of civilian dudes that I've worked with as a staff sergeant, they also showed up. So it was pretty cool, man. It was a pretty dope promotion. It was just that piece of like not having my junior guys there. I kind of felt like because at the end of the day, like yeah, I get the promotion, but it's never about me, dude. Like I would never get the promotion of being a gunny unless it wasn't for my sergeants, my corporals, my lances, like because at the end of the day, that's what that promotion means. It's like it's all their hard work also as well, right? Because I can't do everything by myself. So uh yeah.
Yeah. So, dude, I've known you probably now, through social media, probably a couple years or so. So I've had the opportunity and whenever you're live or something, I try to join your live. I've kind of gotten to know you, bro. And I gotta say, I've had nothing but the utmost respect for you and your growth. But like it takes a certain individual in the world to do what you're doing, and why I say that is because the Marine Corps is hard. I know that. I only did 4 years, because my ass couldn't hack another four. You know what I mean? So you've made a life out of it. You have a family. You went and worked hard to get your master's degree. You fucking hit the drill field, did boot camp probably like 9 times or more.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh get into the fleet, bro, and get put in bad situations, able to turn things around. You have a good head on your shoulder, dude. You lead by example. Um, tell everybody kind of what does it take, bro? Like to do what you do, man, and to be committed and to have a good head on your shoulder each and every day, bro, and get up and go do what you do. Because I mean, there's a lot of people that can't do it, dog. There's just, you know what I mean. Like I said, 4 years was a lot for me, but for someone to make a lifetime and a career out of it, there's a commitment and a dedication that a lot of people have no effing clue about.
um I think it's really going to depend on the perception, maturity level to there's so much that involves to it, right? And I want to say that my journey where I'm at right now started when I was like 11 years old, right? You know, people see my life journey, I want to say, starts when my mom died. Right? Why? Because I had to learn a lot of hardships and learn how to be a little man really, really quick. Because my dad wasn't around. Right? He had to work. He had to maintain. He was the sole provider. He just lost his wife of 20 years, and now he's stuck with this 11-year-old in this whole ass different country, right? I just moved to Puerto Rico. I had no idea the language, so I had to learn a whole different language. So I'm going bullied at school, trying to learn a whole different language and everything else. So I'm looking at all these hardships right now. And some people might say, like, some people might dwell on like the loss of a parent or something, but if it weren't, I was kind of like talking about this yesterday. If it weren't for that specific moment, I probably wouldn't have my kids. I probably have not would have met my wife. I probably would have not been the uh, an instrument to for 389 civilians to transform to become Marines. I would have not had the influence of thousands and thousands of recruits that went through the classes and heard me talk about, if you fuck with our ships, we're gonna fuck you up, or TCCC or whatnot. The impact that I've had on all the Marines, right? It goes back to that pivotal moment, right, of my mother's death, right, that has transformed me and move on, right. My dad's suicide, right, that also is a big change into it, right, and moving forward. And then obviously the most pivotal point of what made me go join to the Marines, right, me being obese, fat as fuck, and going to the Army office, and the Army recruiter laughing to my face and telling me, like, nah, we don't want you. It's like, all right, dude. Well, guess what? Fuck you, dude. I'm going to do this my way. So you know what? I'm not going to join the Army. Now I'm not going to become a Marine. I'm going to be the one that also makes Marines. So um, I think between like all the hardships, I know like my first 4 years, I wasn't going to do more, dude. I wasn't contemplating on making the Marine Corps career, but
Mhm.
being on my 2015, my daughter suffered of a really weird, really rare encephalitis called anti-NMDA receptor encephalitis, and she almost died in my arms, dude. Um, and if it weren't for Gunner Sergeant Clint Hiller, if it weren't for him and his leadership, and actually giving a shit, going every day to the hospital, checking on me and my kid every day. I was in the hospital for 2 months, dude. Do you imagine a
Mm.
staff NCO going every day to the hospital? 40 miles
Wow.
every day, because that was in Rady's Children's Hospital, and we're stationed in Pendleton. So every day, back and forward, just to go check up on your Marines.
Traffic and shit too, man.
Yeah, on the five. So
Yeah, bro.
when you take that and you feel like, damn, this dude really cared for me, right? My gunny cares for me. Um, and that's all that it is, man. Because if you think about it, what does a Marine have to offer you? What does the Marine Corps have to offer you? There's not an amount of money that you can offer to these guys that will make them stay in. I promise you that. You have, like, for example, all these shortages that are going outside in the industry, right? You can even see the articles for Boeing, Airbus, like, hey, we don't have enough people for what we want to do. We don't have the skill set. Guess where they're poaching them from? They're taking them from. Hold on, try to charge this a little bit. All right.
Yeah.
Um, they're taking it from our guys. So regardless if the Marine Corps says, like, hey, I'm going to give you $100,000 for you to re-op, Boeing's going to come and be like, hey, bro, I'll give you 200 grand a year. I'm going to pay you moving expenses and everything else. So what the Marines say, like, deuces, I'm out. Hold on, no PFT. no weigh-ins. I don't have to do all this other stuff. What? No cyber awareness I gotta do yearly. I'm out, right? Um, so when you have the comment on this as like Marines are here for the intangibles, and to be a Marine is because, quite frankly, it's the truth. Like, you only stick around because you want to be a Marine. There's no other reason, because there's not an amount of fixing of the barracks that you can do. I'm not saying like that doesn't help or influence. It does. But regardless, if your heart is set to you to leave the organization, you're going to bounce. The only reason you want to stay in is because you want to be a Marine. The only reason why I stayed in, I love being a Marine. And the first 3 units where I had really bad leadership, I wanted to be different. I wanted to change that. And when I finally had the opportunity this year, 2023, had the year to make that big difference, where I had the short time that I had as a division chief. I think I was like for like 4 or 5 months before they moved me. Uh, I was able to make 2 CDQARs. I was able to get one guy meritorious promoted to corporal, one guy meritorious promoted to sergeant, uh, one NAM, and then what, 3 CERTCOMs or 4 CERTCOMs, right? And every promise that I told my guys, like, hey, you want to go to school? I got you, bro. I'm going to send you to all the schools you want. That's what you want. I'm going to send you. You want this? And I kept every single one of the words that I said to my guys. I kept it. And all my junior Marines, they know that. They know that for a fact. They're like, hey, they can say whatever they want to say about you. However, one thing like there's undeniable is that any word that you said that you were going to keep, like, you kept your promises to us. And that means a lot, because that's what you're telling the Marines, like, we care for you. If you just only care for the Marines, they're going to stick around. The problem is, and it's like one of the heartaches that I felt the most being back in the fleet, is having shitty ass freaking peers. And it sucks, man. It sucks having shitty ass freaking peers that they don't care. Um, they they're like, whatever, I'm just doing me. Um, it's like, dude, like, you're a staff sergeant, dude. You're a gunny, dude. Like, how do you not care? He's like, it's not my problem, not my responsibility. I'm like, well, it's not my problem, not my responsibility, but I'm still, you know, do the little extra mile, dude. Because at the end of the day, that's what the guys see, like, you putting in the extra mile. So yeah, I'll get in a whole ass soap opera about that, or soapbox. Um, but going back to the original question, what does it take to stay in? It's just be passionate and caring, man. That's what it comes down to, being passionate, caring, because at the end of the day, like, if you don't care, then everything just falls apart.
Yeah, and I mean, I gotta imagine too, bro, like, you gotta find your, life balance, because you were going to school and had a family and the Marine Corps. And, the Marine Corps
And
kinda had a saying, like, "Hey, if they wanted you to have a family, they woulda issued you one," type thing, you know what I mean? So, um, how do you manage the life balance, bro?
um, I'll be honest, I don't, I don't know. I think a lot of it has to deal with one of my good friends that retired. Sergeant Thomas retired. Andy, how I call him. He used to be my neighbor back in Pelton. Um, he was like my neighbor for a good 4, 5, 6 years. One of the things he's always mentioned was like, invest in your wife, invest in your wife, invest in your wife. I'm like, I don't get it, because it's my benefits. Like, why is it invest in your wife? He's like, because you're investing in your future, right? So that kind of like clicked on me, like, the future, right? And now what my wife says, like, hey, what are we doing for retirement? I'm like, dog, I got 10 years left. He's like, nope, plan retirement. She said like more than 25 times. And now I start thinking about it, like, I should plan about retirement. I should start doing my master's degree. Hey, I want to start my own business. I should probably start doing that right now. I should start thinking about other different stuff. So coming back to the fleet, after the deployment, I start looking at all the other stuff, right? Because usually, like, when do you start doing the guys that are about to get out? They start doing their stuff for their VA and everything else 6 months before I get out. Oh, I want to go check on my knee. I want to check on my lower back. I want to check on this. But how long has this been hurting for? Oh, for a couple of years. So why not start the process now? And now you build up a big paperwork. So by the time you get out, right here, 20 years, hey, you have that ready. You have substantial information. There's not without a doubt that they can say like it's not service related. Oh no, it's there. It's very service
And
related,
it's
right?
important, dude. I mean, they try to, I mean, at least when I was in, bro, they never go on a sick call or some shit for something. You like, you better have a real good reason, bro. Like, there was just, so that was kind of one of those things too. You got to be careful and take care of your body. You
Yeah.
ain't gonna be no good to the Marine Corps or to anybody else later on in the life if you don't take care of yourself.
Yep.
And it is important to do, when you have those problems, to go take care of it. If especially, you're gonna have a life after the Marines no matter what. The Marine Corps has even an age limit that you can only hit too, before they
Yeah.
get your ass out of there. You get too old. So you do have life after. So you got to make sure that you're preparing yourself, because I could only account for myself. And when I got out, yeah, the struggle is real, man. You got to go there and prove everything to them, and the more paper trail that you got while you're in, the less they can sit there and challenge you on being service related. It's like, hey, bro, I mean, I got a documentation this thick. You gonna tell me it's not service related for real?
Yeah. So, we go back to that, I guess like the theme of this podcast, right, is like transitioning, right? So going back to the fleet, one of the first things that I was invited to was the Revenant Warrior Silky hike, right? A friend of mine, Alexandra, which was on TikTok, like, hey, there's gonna be a Silky hike in Wilmington. You want to join up? I'm like, I'm not sure, I don't know how I feel about meeting strangers that I met through social media. Like, no, it's going to be a good time. Just come, right? I went to the first one. I absolutely loved it, right? I didn't socialize that much with a lot of people, but then I went to the second one, which, I didn't know no one, but I enjoyed so much the first one that I went to the second one. I got to talk a little bit with the people that were there, right? They're all veterans. And then I went to the third one. I got to talk a little bit more with the veterans that were there, right? I got to meet Kyle. I got to meet Matt, and then I get to, hear some of the stories the veterans were talking about too. And they would ask me questions about the fleet, right? Kind of like similar to, the audience, like, hey, what's the fleet like now? And I want to say that by my fourth one, I was now going up and down and asking questions, mingling, and sharing stories and everything else. And I just keep on hearing like, hey, how hard is it to transition? And transition here, and it just kept on pinging me, right? So I got between my wife telling me like, hey, start planning retirement, and hey, transition is hard, and all this other stuff, right? Uh, I'm like, okay, I need to start planning of what I want to do. And then I have my wife that now she finished last year her second master's degree, and she's working for a firm. She's like, hey, I'm gonna start doing my own stuff and starting my own firm. So she just jumped straight into it, right, and created her own firm. Um, and I'm like over here, like, all right, cool. And she's like, hey, I need you to help me with the firm. I'm like, all right, what do you need me to help you with? You're gonna be my marketing person because you understand social media. I'm like, I'm
Uh,
like, okay. So now, I called one of my boys, which is
you
Matt.
invested so much into her. Now she's the CEO. I'm like, you are the
Oh,
marketer.
yes. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I hit up my boy Matt, and he's like, hey man, we have this thing called the Veterans Business Collective. You should come over here. And I get over there, and you have all these different business owners there, small business owners that are all veterans. I'm like, okay, this is really cool. I did not know this existed. And at that moment, my bubble popped. I came to the realization like I live in a bubble in the military. We live in a bubble. We don't not know anything that's outside of this, right? So I went
Right.
to that, and then I had another one of the guys that he actually I remember like me and him kind of like went in the debate on one of my comment section, and then he sees me and he's like, "You're Joseph Bad," and I'm like, "Ah, yes, I am." So we start talking, and then so he invited me to go to the American Legion to one of the meetings. So I go over there, and then I see this other guy called DW. He's talking about all this stuff with Congress going on and how it's impacting the veterans. And I'm like, hold on, what? Hold on, they're trying to do what? Hold on, I didn't have zero clue about what's going on. So my whole bubble is kind of popped, and like I just been living in this really surreal life, and that's where I felt this need. Like, okay, I need to diversify myself. It cannot be only soul all Marine Corps. Like, I need to start uh, expanding my horizons and not just only be like, okay, I want to do this PMB, run faster, get my black belt, and all this stuff. Like, no, I need to start being round a well-rounded Marine, also with the local community, which is like the missing part. So now I started getting involved with the American Legion. I started getting involved with the Vet Business Collective. This past year, we started also getting. My wife pulled me back to church, and now we got like very, very, very involved on that too, and helping it grow too. So pretty much, it's like, hey, I've been popped from the bubble, and now I'm coming to realize like how important it is to have the mindset like, hey, we do have an expiration date, but we need to start doing all this stuff. So, kind of like, how do I manage my time? I really don't know. uh, but as I come become more woke, I'll use the term woke, or more alert, or more aware of what's going on right now with the local community, what's happening with the country and everything else. I feel the need like, hey, I need to divide my time appropriately, so that way once I'm in this situation I am prepared. And that's the only thing that I'm on my prep time right now.
Right. Well, no, man. I mean, you got yourself a, it's good having a plan, and at least you're well adverse, because that's one thing I think about the 4-year Marines is that they don't have no other chance but just to think Marine Corps, right? I mean, as you start to gain rank and stuff like that, and you start to get in there, you start to see other, and you get more matured, and everything else, I'm sure, as well, goes with it as well. And you're starting to see other guys who gotten out of your buddies, and they probably start talking to you, hey bro, like, before you get out, bro, you should do this because we're struggling over here. So, at least you're able to kind of get yourself going now, so that way you're not struggling when you get out or whatever. But I mean, dude, 20 years is respectful, and
Well,
are you gonna go
and
past
that's
20, or are you gonna do the 20?
it's
Or
again,
just you
I
just
don't.
it's all circumstantial?
It's all circumstantial, right?
Right.
Because like right now, I'm going to finish my master's degree, right? So right now, with the amount of experience I have in aviation plus a master's degree, I am pretty well competitive to go out there to work in the industry. I can also say like, hey, I want to do a part-time job, which I already reached out to Embry Riddle, like, hey, the Marine Corps and the Navy has this thing called the Naval Community College, which is to give classes for an associate's degree with the partnership with Embry Riddle to give an associate's degree for aviation maintenance. I'm like, well, I already speak sailor marine, so if I could give a class on the same material that A, I have the experience, B, I have the degree in, what better candidate than you have for that? And like it's just it just becomes I don't know, man. I almost lost my train of thought right now. When you kind of think about it in that aspect, man, like you don't know what happens. Like I got this promotion at 12 years, so it's unexpected. So people are asking me like, "What are you gonna do, dude? Are you gonna put F or M?" I'm like, I don't know, right?
12-year gunny, dude. That's not
There,
bad though, too. I mean, honestly,
no,
for sure, dude. I mean, damn, dude, you could definitely get up there. I mean, you could there's some room for you to get up to like first sergeant or so.
yeah. So it's again like I don't know, right? I talked to with my wife like, hey, what do you think about 23 years? What do you think about the 25? What do you think about the 30?
Yeah.
And then she's like, hey, what do you think about this business that I'm making for us? I'm like, oh, sorry about that. So again, it's and right now, we were talking a little bit offline, like there's this opportunity, right? Like again, we're here on social media, and a lot of us content creators that kind of like understand how the algorithms work and everything else. There's an opportunity for people that don't really know how it works, right? And they're reaching out like, "Hey, can you help me build it?" And there's another business opportunity there also as well. So it's honestly, I couldn't tell you what the future brings, right? At this point, it's like, hey, I'm going wherever the flow goes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying not to force absolutely nothing. I still have many, many years to decide, but at this moment in time, as I was saying, I'm in my prep time, and I'm just trying to equip myself with a lots and lots of tools so that way once I get to that point, I can find like what I'm able to do. But at this point, I want to start building something for myself, so that way when I go transition out, because I already know I'm going to have a rough time when I transition out. I love way too much the Marine Corps that I feel that if I don't have a plan already set, that I'm going to be like those old sergeant majors that get out of the Marine Corps, and like 3 months later they suffer a heart attack and they end up dying,
Yeah.
because they miss it, right?
Right.
And that's how I kind of like, and that's like one of the other reasons why I'm starting to do a lot of the movement, because I talk with a lot of like higher ups, and I ask them like, hey, what are you doing, man? Like, are you studying? And they're like, no. An associate at least, like, I'm going to start college now. I'm like, bro, you spent 19 years in the Marine Corps. You've had TA, you had like all these other different opportunities, and you haven't done nothing. Have you started your own business? Nope. Have you considered doing anything? Nope. So, what are we doing, dog? Like your life is about to like change drastically in the next like 7, 8 months, and now you're scrambling to try to figure it out, right? Um, and it goes back to like what I tell my guys, right? And this is why I'm trying to change the mentality now. I tell my guys like, hey, the first 4 years, give it to the Marine Corps. By all means, give it to the Marine Corps. Where they ask you, do it. All
Yeah.
right. What I ask of you is I would ask of you to do 8 years. Why? You get a good taste of what the institution is about, right? You get an opportunity to go to a different unit, because a lot of the people that say they have a bad flavor of what the Marine Corps is because they spent their time in one unit,
Right.
right? And it was probably you had like that one or two uh, bad staff NCOs or commanding officer or immature commanding officer, and you had a bad flavor for it. So
Yeah.
now you look at the Marine Corps like it's all bad, when it's probably only two people that made the whole entire institution look bad,
Yeah.
right?
And the
So
other thing is too about that 4-year mark, you usually are about NCO, if you can hit it about that 3-year mark, 2-year mark. And things the Marine Corps does change once you kind of get NCO. It does change to a level of it's not so as you're in the suck, you know. Um now you're in charge of the suck, and if the suck ain't being properly charged, you're getting your ass chewed next. But I mean, I know it's kind of crazy because right as I was getting ready to get out, bro, I spent a lot of my time just wanting to get out, and then all of a sudden, even after deploying and everything, coming back and going in and talking to the career jammer that last time before you know, check out, I really contemplated. I was like, at that point in time, I was like, am I really second guessing getting out? I didn't think that would happen, but I really did, because there's always that fear of the unknown too once you get out, bro. Cause like when you're in the military, you get that bi-weekly check, you know how much it's gonna be. Um, you get food, you get cost of living, all that stuff, it's there's a level of security there that you kind of worried about when you don't have anymore when you get out.
Hmm. And that's like kind of like one of the things that I talk to a lot of the guys right now when they're able to re-up, right? So I told them like, hey, the first 4 years give it to the Marine Corps. The
Mhm.
other 4 years, right? This next enlistment, I want to do it for you. What do I mean do it for you? Go to school, all right? I don't care what you go to school for. Go to school,
Right.
all right? If you want to change units, dude. Go to a different place. You're only going to grow as long as you move somewhere. All right. Staying here, you're going to remain stagnant. You're not going to learn nothing. You're not going to learn a different perspective.
Don't be
Right.
afraid of change.
Just
Sometimes
change,
change
dude.
is good.
So I had two dudes to actually do that. I still remember we were doing the go away for one of the gunnies, and this dude was dead set to get out. He was dead set, and he was like hammered. And at this time, it was like me and my wife were talking about like trying to create the business. And then he looks at me, he's like, Staff Sergeant, like, I'm getting the fuck out of the Marine Corps because I want to make money. I want to get a different tax bracket. All he would talk about tax brackets. Obviously, you talk about taxes, my wife is going to be like, money?
Yeah.
She goes over there, right? She talks accounting all the time. So talking with him, he's like, and my wife is just poking holes to his freaking plan, like how you going to make money and this and that and yada yada yada. So I was able to sit down with him, like, hey, dude, here's the deal, man. Like you have all these plans, but you're going to go back to where Tennessee and do what? Like, why don't you do all the stuff now and save all that stuff up for later for bigger plans? Don't think about the now. Think how you can set yourself up later down the road. So this is what you need to do. You need to do this. So change units uh, with go to a non-deployable unit, start your school, and at the end of your term, you're either going to be towards the end of your school or you're going to have a bachelor's degree and you're going to have a different view. At that point, you can make a sound decision if you want to get out or stay in. But guess what? I'm going to tell you right now, at that 8 year mark, you're probably going to pick up staff. And he's like, all right, I'm going to give it a go. All right. So he re-enlisted. So he's giving it a try. He's giving it a go. He's doing really well. I got another guy. He just did the same thing. I had another guy, and he was on the fence. Sadly enough, he took too long to submit his re-enlistment package, and the Marine Corps told him no. And I told him, I looked at him, and I was like, "Well, you can't be mad, dude. Like, I was going to send you to the school that he at first he was like, I'm getting out, I'm getting out. Then he had a fight with his girlfriend. Then he's like, okay, I'm going to reconsider reenlisting. I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm going to get you this class. And we got everything set up for him. But he took too long to do his reenlistment package. So by the time he submitted it, there was no vote space. So the Marine Corps was like, hey, thank you for playing. Then he's like, well, he was kind of upset about it. He's out, and I shit you not, dude. Like a week after he got out, he like sends me a text like, "Hey man, I miss you guys." I'm like, "We miss you too, man." So I still keep in contact with him.
Uh,
Uh, but again, he's like it is different now being out, but I have my freedom, but it's still very different. I'm like, yeah, it's very different. So and then I have dudes that I have this one corporal. He's about to ES next month. I'm like, hey dude, what are your plans? He's like, well, I'm going back to my hometown. Where's hometown? Wisconsin. All right, cool. What are you gonna do over there? Going to probably work at my dad's factory. All right, if that doesn't work out, what's their other plan? Work in another factory. All right, well, if that doesn't work out, yeah, work in another factory. Where are you gonna live
oh
at, dude?
man.
my sister's house. Does your sister
Mm.
know? I haven't told her yet. I'm like, okay, dude, you don't have a solid plan. So,
Yeah, the
and,
plan
and
is a big thing.
yeah,
It
I'm
is
like,
important.
your plan should have been put in a realistic package because you don't have a solid plan right now. And we find ourselves with so many guys that are about to transition out. They don't have a plan. And I've found that a lot, very different from before I went to drill fit. Now this one is like a lot of the guys are not planning ahead and don't really have a plan. We just kicked out like the other day a sergeant that was EAS in August, and we didn't know that he was living still in the barracks till like October when he
Oh
tried to
my
come through the
gosh.
gate. He tried to come through the
No.
gate. His CAC is expired, right? And then a whole fiasco, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, this Marine was still living in the barracks after 2 months after he EAS." I'm like, and everyone's like, "How did this happen?" Like, yeah, he went on terminal leave and uh, he never checked out his barracks room, so he was just chilling for the last 2 months in his barracks room.
That's crazy.
It's like, all right, dude. like, was this your plan after EASing? Like, what was the plan, man? Like, we don't know. I didn't send him a text message, so I think he's alive. So he did
Yeah, that's
say
good.
Happy New Year, so I think he's alive. So, um, but yeah, it's those things like, hey, do your due diligence to have a proper plan. And a lot of the guys don't have a good set plan of what they want to do.
Right.
They're like, oh, I want to get out, I want to smoke weed and just whatever. It's like that's cool and dandy, but that's only gonna last you for a month. After that, you need to do stuff, man. So
Yeah, man, you gotta
uh,
go find a career, it's important. You
yes,
can't just get out and rot away because otherwise you'll slip into depression and all these other ailments that start popping up that you didn't even realize were there, until you're removed from it for a while, and then you're out of your environment for a while and you're isolated, and now you have nothing but time to think. It could be bad for your mental health, that's for sure.
and then you find yourself right. You find like the bad side, right? Like, hey, what do you do? You'll have this, and then everyone goes then straight into social media, either bashes the Marine Corps or creating OnlyFans. This is like the biggest one. Like, all right, well, I don't get any other options. All right, I'm gonna freshen up my feet. I'm gonna sell, feet pics, right? Um, and you see that a lot too. You see that a lot, like, so what are you doing now? Well, I started my OnlyFans, trying to get that easy money. I'm like, was this your? I remember. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Meek Speaks that he was like, "Hey, was that your plan when you sat down to do your final interview? Like, what are you doing after the Marine Corps? I'm going to start an OnlyFans." It's like, no, I'm pretty sure you didn't tell that as Sergeant Major. Like, hey, I'm going to start my OnlyFans. Like, no, man. It's like, it becomes sad, like when Marines don't, like, you spent so many years in an institution that was very structured, everything else. You would think that, hey, I would set aside and I would focus on what I want to do afterwards. But what a lot of the Marines do, and you mentioned it at the beginning, like, I want to get out, I want to get out, I want to get out. All right, cool. So your end goal is to get out. So how are you going to sustain what happens afterwards, right? They never think about it.
Yeah, you don't have
Um,
all those responsibilities, so to speak, while you're in the Marine Corps, unless you lived off base. But if you're living in the barracks and you got a chow hall that you go to every day, and you don't got an electric bill, you don't got a water bill, you don't got a gas, trash, all those bills, they come when you get out, bro. Like it's like
yeah,
boom, it smacks, and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go get a
and
big time job.
and and what really drives me nuts is the misconception, sorry, of Marines just being one dimensional, right? Okay,
Right?
I'm going to be a Marine, and that's all I'm going to be, right? You can do other stuff, right? You
Yeah.
got you got Marines here. Like, there's one content creator that's on here. He's about to get out, and he does all his stuff he gets his he talks about it like, hey, I get this much money from here and I get this much money from TikTok, right? You have other Marines that are like, hey, I'm doing this and I'm doing the Domino's thing on the side. And you have Marines that are starting a small little business. There's a Lance Corporal. I don't remember what base he is, but he has a whole ass freaking gi dunk, right? He goes to Sam's, buys all the stuff, and sells all the stuff. Hopefully MCCS doesn't catch him, but you know, he makes a profit. It's a hustle, right? And
Yeah.
there's so much that Marines can do outside of where it's the Marine Corps, but all they are interested like, hey, I just want to play Call of Duty. I want to get drunk on the weekend, and
Nothing that no value. Yeah.
like you're not adding value to your future. You're not adding value to when you transition out or when you're not investing in yourself.
It's lost time, man, that you can never gain back too. It's, and a lot of kids, younger folks don't realize how valuable that time is. Like, imagine how many hours you spend on some video game that gave you nothing back, absolutely nothing back, and you could have put it into developing goals or developing some kind of a business or something. You could have just put some time and effort into that. You know, I think that's a little bit of problematic with the world today is that we are willing to go invest into other people, but we're not willing to invest into ourselves. You know what I mean? And that's a big thing. When
And
you start
nothing
to kind of learn about investing in yourself, you'll see how much more value you can add and give value to others as well.
and nothing bad about playing video games, man.
No,
Now,
it's good for your mental health, but it's
yeah,
but
but how can
there's a 8 hours a day problem, every
yep,
day, or a couple of hours here and there to get away. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, bro, I still play every night.
yeah.
I put in a couple hours a night, so
But for my big gamers, right? How can you monetize it, right? Oh, I get on
yeah,
Switch on Twitch. I start my channel and Smart Small.
yeah,
Well, start it from right now, dude. If you are one of them bigger like shit talkers, right? Hey,
yeah.
just start filming yourself while you're shit talking while you're playing video games and stuff, right?
A
Because
Marine 1169 is a retired gunnery sergeant. He is uh, Facebook gaming now. He's,
yep,
streams and everything, so
yeah, I've seen his I've
it's
seen
out
his
there.
lives. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you got that. If you like to do like for example for myself, right? Like I like to talk about drill instructor Marine Corps stuff on my TikTok, right?
Right.
Is it what now people are like, oh, is that your personality? No, it's not my personality. It's just how the algorithm has branded my platform. And if I do anything outside of it, it's not marketable as what they want because the brand that TikTok decided is going to be drill instructor, right?
Right.
However, with that being said, I've had other people that come up and reached out like, hey, I like some of your editing, or hey, can you help me out understand a little bit better the algorithm? And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that's easy. Like, do this, do that. You can do X, Y, and Z, and then sometimes those become business opportunities. Like, hey, can you do this video for me? I'm like, all right, cool. Not that I'm charging anyone right now, but it
Yeah.
is
It's
a
practice.
it is a practice. It builds a portfolio, right?
Yep.
Again, talk about investing in yourself. Hey, those are free turns, man. It's free turns to
Absolutely.
to do your editing. If you mess up, it's not like they're going to sue you for messing it up, right? The editing, like, oh, you
Yeah.
misspelled my name, like they're not going to be mad about it, right? Um, and it gives you an opportunity to also network and get your name out there, right? And people just miss that element. That's the biggest element. Like you're missing the opportunity to invest, right? So by the time you start doing the transition, oh, I want the money right now, but you never did the investment back then, so you're not going to get shit right now. And that's what it comes down to, right? And I saw this quote like there's two disciplines that you take a or two paints that you get to choose to live with, right? You get to pick the pain of discipline, or you get to the pain of regret.
Right.
So if you decide that you don't want to invest in absolutely nothing, wait till you transition out, and now you find yourself like
I wish I
suffering.
would have. Yep.
Yeah, I wish I would like, hey, invest now, man. Go to your
Yep.
school. Go do this. Invest your time wisely. Do you really need to, do you really sleep 8 to 10 hours a night? Do you really, or do you like, oh, well, I'm gonna go sleep like around 1 in the morning because I'm gonna play Call of Duty. I'm not saying anything bad about Call of Duty, but do you really need to spend 4 hours playing Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Like, how much money is Call of Duty going to give back to you? Unless you're playing professional in a tournament, then by all means, dude, hey, full on.
Yeah. Right.
But if you're not, then why are you investing so much time on that? Um,
100%.
and that's what it goes down to, man. That's what
Yep.
it comes down to.
Yep. All right, brother. Well, freaking, I enjoy always having you on, bro. I mean, you know what? It is always great, and I think that you're probably one of those people that will always come on. Like, we'll just always be keeping in
Hey,
touch because
I love
you're
coming over here.
always ever developing. You're always got something going on. So, we're definitely going to keep you on. But is there any last words that you would like to say to anybody before we wrap it up?
Yes. Again, like we've been talking a lot about transition. I guess this is the thing, right? Um, don't wait for tomorrow to do something that you can do today, right?
Mhm.
Take the opportunity to invest in yourself. No one gives a fuck about your career except yourself. No one gives a fuck about your future more than yourself. So don't
100.
wait for someone else to hold your hand to walk you to the path, right? Start taking the initiative to look into stuff that you need to start doing for yourself. Either being school, learning a skill set, or just networking. Networking goes so far. All right. And by all means, do not discard your military experience because I'm telling you right now, what I'm doing right now, I'm just trying to like analyze like social media right now is just using OODA loop, right? I'm just observing, I'm orientating, I decide, and then I act. Hey, do I decide to make this post on something? What if I make this type of post? What kind of audience or attraction I'm going to get? Right? I might decide I'm not going to post this, or I might decide to post this. Right? The same thing works with everything. Right? What's the necessity? What's in the market? Hey, I noticed that we live in Florida and it rains like almost every day. That means there's like green mildew growing out on the outside of the houses. Maybe I should have a power wash company. And I started investing on that. And hey, I started a $500,000 freaking business out of something that I saw a necessity of people that don't want to do this and are willing to pay for to do that. Hey, there's a lot of people that know how to change the oil of their car, but there's also a lot of people that are not willing to do it.
Yeah. 100.
So find what's your niche and don't wait till transition out or that the breaker tells it's your time to go and then trying to figure it out. Figure it out now that you have the opportunity and you have that safety net and make all the mistakes you can right now.
100%. Well, great words, brother. And like I said, man, one of my favorite guests. And we keep in touch through text message, and
Yeah.
I'm always on your live. So you know, we're always keep in touch, brother. But once again, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time, talk to us, and inform us on how the Marine Corps is and where you're at.
Hell yeah, brother. I love always being here. It's always a conversation. It's like two the boys over here just hanging. So I love
Oh yeah,
over
bro.
here.
We damn near did an hour of content before we even started.
I know. We're like, I know.
But all right, brother.
All right.
Have a good
Y'all
day,
take it
man.
easy.
All
All
right.
right. See ya.
All right, friends and fam. Well, that wraps up another great episode. Like I said, I love having Gunnery Sergeant Cruz on, also known as Jonas the Mad Hatter. If you guys have TikTok, go check him out over there on TikTok. That's Jonas the Mad Hatter. And you won't regret it, I promise. But I hope you guys are all having an amazing week, amazing day. Don't let it kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. Until next time. Arr.